About 8 months ago, I made the most lucrative deal of my entire life, selling just Google reviews to one company for over $40,000 per year. Today, I'm gonna go deep in the woods, find a good tree to climb, tell you about exactly how I made it happen, exactly how it almost failed like 7 times, and exactly how you can do it yourself. Oh yeah, that's the ticket right there. A great magnolia. I'm gonna climb it. Now that I've gotten about up to altitude, not quite as high as commercial planes fly, but still pretty high, let's talk about it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Clay Lawrence, owner of Review Harvest. I have about 175 active GoHighLevel SaaS clients and make a little bit over $22,000 a month with an almost fully automated low-ticket service selling Google reviews to local business owners. All right, so this is an insane story, and how it happened is even crazier. So I got my $100 million leads book from Alex Hormozi. I posted it on my story. Alex Hormozi reposted it on his story, and I probably got like 10 or 15 followers from it. I was going through some of the followers that had followed me, and one of them looked like they were kind of my ideal client. They owned a local business in the home service industry, so I figured, shoot, I'll go ahead and DM them. So I DM'd them on Instagram. No response for a little while, nothing crazy, but I went back probably 3 or 4 days later. They responded and they hopped on a call with me. I got on a call. Everything sounded great. This was back in the day when I was selling this for a $500 setup fee, and then I was doing it at $239 a month after that. And so I sold him on the call, $500 collected up front. We got started. We got the onboarding set up. We set up his review reactivation, but we were waiting for one thing. I think I was just waiting for his Google business profile to get verified or something like that. And basically 2 weeks later, he called me. We hadn't gotten many reviews yet because we hadn't launched his account. And he said, hey man, I'm gonna need a refund. He said, we just lost a van. One of our vans just got totaled. Cash is tight. I could really use that $500 back. And at the time, this was back when I was probably only doing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10K per month. And so I was like, dang, that kind of sucks, But I said, for sure, man, I'll refund you the money, but let's still do the review reactivation. Let's still get you set up and start getting reviews. Because I know that once people see the reviews coming in, they're going to be more than willing to pay moving forward. And so he was very grateful about that. And we were able to still get him set up and start getting him some reviews. So, refund him the money. He hasn't paid me anything. And we get him set up and we start getting him a bunch of reviews. I think we got him 60 or 70 reviews in the first couple weeks. And he had a smaller client list. And so he was stoked. He was super happy. The home service company he had was part of a franchise. They have about 30, 40 locations. And this is one of the first times I ever had a client make a big promise like this. We're like, oh yeah, I'm going to connect you with all 100 people. I'm going to connect you with 200 people. And so I was like a kid in the candy store. I was stoked. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is going to change my life. And he's like, yeah, I'll connect you with him over email and text and we'll get you started. And so anyways, after a couple weeks, I was like, okay, he's not going to connect me with any of these guys, but I can just reach out to the other franchises, the other locations, just manually and just DM them or cold email them or whatever and say, hey, here's a other location of your company that I helped get 60, 70 reviews in a couple weeks. I'd love to do the same thing for you. And so when I DM'd 3 or 4 locations, one of the locations responded back in like 15 minutes. And just by happenstance, the owner had access to that Instagram account. And he was like, yeah, I saw what you did. Let's hop on a call. And so you see right there, a couple of things. It would have been easy for me to be like, oh no, I'm not going to get you reviews if you're not paying me. And then boom, this would have never happened. The second thing, I could have just let it slide and he never connected me and that just would have been the only location I worked with and nothing would have happened. But I still followed up with other locations to figure it out. And anyways, I got on a call with the owner. It went really well. I told him, hey, give me 3 or 4 locations. I'll set them all up for free and we'll just see how it goes. And after you get results for more and you see that it works, then we can talk about some sort of deal moving forward with all the locations. And so then honestly, a month or 2 went by before I was able to get all those locations set up and finally start getting them results. So it was a very slow process. But finally, we started getting all these other clients' results, and they're like, hey, this is great. We want to bring you on board. We want this to be standard protocol for all of our new locations. But then what happened was they're changing COOs right now. So they're hiring a new COO. This was kind of in their ballpark, and they were supposed to manage it. So it took another month of just going back and forth with people on the team, trying to get set up with the new COO. Finally got a meeting with the new COO. We agreed upon a price that I was stoked about, that they were stoked about. And now I have over 35 of their locations set up. They paid Review Harvest well over 30 grand over the last 7 or 8 months, and they pay us about $3,500 per month to manage all their locations. And so the main thing I learned from that story was that when you're working with these bigger companies, you really just have to be patient. You have to continue to follow up. Like, it was just messy. It just wasn't clean. It didn't happen overnight. It was just weeks and weeks of this on my brain, this open loop that I was just constantly following up over email, following up over text, and trying to make it happen and push the ball forward. And eventually it paid off. And so while I was going through that process, like, is this even worth it? Like, I'm spending so much time following up, haven't really got anything to show for it yet besides maybe 1 or 2 locations that a lot of them weren't even paying me yet. And it kind of sucked for a little while. But at the end of the day, it made so much sense for me. And now it's the easiest money Review Harvest makes every month. And so now I want to go over the pros and cons of landing these massive clients. And I also want to go over how you can land massive clients like this for yourself. So the pros of working with these massive companies is that you pretty much have to get a couple of locations results and then the rest of them follow really easily. And so like now when a new location comes on, like it's not even really a sale. They just like are like, oh yeah, this is what we're supposed to do. Also, these clients, in my experience, tend to stay longer because the cost of change of them flipping all the locations or changing things is a lot. Like I am built into their SOPs for onboarding. I am like in their process when they get a new franchise. I am part of that process. And so I'm very embedded into their systems and operations. They don't want to just nix that overnight and have to change the way everything operates. So in general, they're stickier. And then obviously just cash. Like they're my biggest client every month. And it's just same thing, reviews. The cons of working with these clients is that your onboarding process and your sales process is going to look different. It's messier. It's not like you're just working with a business owner who's got a couple employees and he's the only person you talk to and you can hop on a Zoom call with them. You can get everything you need to get set up. A lot of times when I hop on these calls, they might not have access to the Google profile. They might not have access to the social media. They might not have access to the client list. And so you have to go through multiple levels of employees to get everything you need to get set up. In my experience, when they're bringing on all these people, they want a little bit of a custom solution. So we have some sort of social media reposting that's custom that we don't do for anybody else for them. And then I have to train my virtual assistant King on how to do the new process. I have to train him on how to support them if something breaks, something messes up. And so they're different than all my other clients. And so operationally, it's pretty inefficient. But the great thing about reviews is that once it's set up and as long as it's working well, it should just keep working. And another pro I will say is that when you're working with these companies that have a lot of employees and you have to go in through certain people, if the person at the top, the business owner or the owner of the franchise or whatever, if they say yes, then if you're working with employees that are employed by that owner, now it becomes their responsibility to do a good job, right? So let's say you're working with that one-man band. It's just his business. He can just ghost you and there's going to be no boss or employer that's down his neck saying, why haven't you set that up yet? Why haven't you done that, right? He can choose to do or not do whatever he wants to do. But if the owner at the top says we're doing this and then the employees don't make it happen, then they're on the hook for that, right? And so you do get a little more accountability. They tend to get stuff back quicker to you once it's needed. But that initial process of getting the owner to say yes and getting the approval from everybody is pretty hard. And another con is that the sales process is very different. I mean, that was a completely different sales process than my referrals, my ads clients. It was messy. None of it was automated. It was not clean. It was me manually trying to make it happen and push the ball forward on it. And so a con is that this becomes a very massive part of your business and you really rely on it. Once you build it once, it almost makes sense to get a lot more of these big clients and build the operations around supporting these big clients instead of just getting the one-off small business owners because the process is so different. And it'll be a little bit scary. If they cancel, that would be a big hit to Review Harvest. And so lastly, the part you've been waiting for, how can you get these massive clients yourself? So in the beginning, I was naive. I thought I just had to go up to the top, find the owner, find the guy, head honcho, the CMO, and say, hey, sell them. And then it's just going to cascade down the whole organization. And I'd get 50, 60, 100 clients like that. I'm not saying it can't work like that, but in my experience was finding somebody that just owned a franchise, getting them great results, going to the other franchise owners, trying to get them some great results, and then just letting it spread up the organization, say like, oh, this is good. And then once you have the proof to go take to the owner, then you can talk about making it standard. So what I would recommend is find these massive companies, these franchises or whatever, and just get in the door with one franchise. It's worth doing it for free. And then trying to get 3 or 4 or 5 and start small and getting them great results. And then see if they can make that connection for you. I never really got that one-on-one handoff. Say, hey, he's done a great job for me. Here's the owner. I never got that. I got lucky that I DM'd that one franchisee that the owner had access to the DMs. That was just luck. But once you get enough of their location's results, it'll start to make waves around the organization and the news will spread. So find an industry that you work really well with and that you can get great results and then just slowly work your way up. The alternative is really figuring out a way to get your foot in the door with one of these owners or CMO, like really build some rapport, know, like, and trust. Maybe they're a family friend and maybe they'll give you the benefit of the doubt and you'll be able to go from the top to the bottom, which will probably be a lot easier. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I mean, that's the story of how I got this massive client that's, over $40,000 a year client. and how it almost didn't happen many times. If you made it this far, I imagine you probably want to get started white labeling high level and maybe just selling Google reviews, a low ticket automated service, and making 10, 15, 20K per month. Good news for you, that's exactly what I teach in my school community. If you sign up with my affiliate link to high level down below in the description, you'll get access to everything for free. I give away my snapshots, my onboarding calls, my sales calls, my step-by-step process of how to set up a client, and so much more. If you like this video and you want to see one of my sales calls with somebody I sold on Google review services, just white labeling high level, watch this next video. I think you'll like it.